starting Parshas Shmos, Chumash Shmos, Parshas Shmos, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I want a bit of an introduction. Parshas Shmos is the beginning of Golus and Geula of Klal Yisrael. And not only is it the beginning of Klal Yisrael going into Golus and Mitzrayim, but it also is the prototype, the root, the shoresh of all future Golus and Geula. And from it, we learn many, many things that are necessary for us today in our situation, because we're desperately in need of Geula. Even though we're here, and even though we're in Eretz Yisrael, and even though we're, very close to the Mekovos HaKdoshim and all of those things, but so much is missing. Everything is missing, the truth of the matter is, because everything is the Shekhinah. Even the second Beis HaMikdash was only a shul, a big shul, a beautiful shul. They offered karbonos, the Kohanim functioned, but there was no Shekhinah. And therefore, it was a shul, a big shul, beautiful shul. So from the Churban Bayis Rishon until this day, the Shekhinah has not been in that place. And therefore, we want it desperately to return. So these next couple of weeks, Shmos, Va'era, Bo, B'Shalach, Yisro, and Mishpatim. Okay, so again, so then all of these parshas, Shmos, Va'era, Bo, B'Shalach, Yisro, Mishpatim, and sometimes in a leap year will be Truman Tetzaveh as well. But they all deal with the Golus Mitzrayim and the Geula of Mitzrayim, which is the Golus of Klal Yisrael and the Geula of Klal Yisrael. And that relates to us. So, sometimes we'll be talking about Parshas Shmos. Sometimes we'll be talking about Va'era. We may go back to Shmos because it's one whole package. So, to begin with, the Parsha begins. Now we're in Shmos. Eile Shmos B'nai Yisrael Aboim Mitzrayim. These are the names of the B'nai Yisrael. Who are the B'nai Yisrael? The Shvatim. Aboim Mitzrayim, that came to Mitzrayim in what? In the beginning of Golus, because that was they came in Golus. And the Chazal asks, why were the names of the Shvatim listed here in Parshas Shmos when they were already listed at the end of Parshas Bereshis, or Vayachi in Chumash Bereshis? Why repeat it? So clearly there's something connected to Golus and Geula that have to do with the Shvatim. And they explain that all the names of the Shvatim relate to the Geula. Every one of the names, like Ruvain, for example, I'm not going through all of it, but Ruvain, the pasuk says, Re'ei ra'isi ani ami, I saw the suffering of my people. So that's Geula. And then it's Shimon, Vayishma Elokim es na'akoso, Hashem heard, are crying out. Levi, Hashem is with us in all situations. Yehuda, Shahoda LaKadosh Baruch Hu. He gave praise and thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was Yehuda, all relating to Geula. So the names of the Shvatim relate to somehow, it was repeated again in Shemos because they relate to the Geula. Now, So the Chazal, the Gemara is teaching us that the Shvatim came into Mitzrayim with their names as Golim, as those who went into exile, and they were also the Shoresh of the Geula, the Shvatim. Now, since Sefer Shmos is the Sefer of the Golus and Geula, as we said, it's the book that deals with Golus and Geula, so it's fitting to open up with the names of the Shvatim as they embodied Golus and Geula. That's who the Shvatim were. Now, we say it every day in davening, 3 times a day if you daven 3 times a day. At the end of the first bracha, we say, Umevi Goel Livnei V'neihem. And he will bring the Geula, the Goel, Mashiach, to the B'nai, the children of his children. Now, why are we referred to, that's referring to us, yes? Why are we the B'nai B'nai? We're not children of Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov? Of course we are. So why is it referring to Mevi Goel, Livnei B'neihem, Livnei B'neihem, to the grandchildren, which should be B'neihem, because Klal Yisrael is known as B'nai B'chayri Yisrael. Klal Yisrael are the Banim of the Avos. So we see from B'nai B'neihem that when Mevi Goel Livnei B'neihem, what we're talking about is there's a step between the Avos and the Geula. There's a step that is in between Golus and Geula, and that is the Shvatim. B'nai B'neihem, Mevi Goel Livnei B'neihem, that the Shvatim, who were the first Banim, are the first step, or the connecting point that connects us to the Avos. And they are crucial. Yaakov and Yitzchak and Yaakov were not called Banim. Even though Yitzchak was the son of Abraham, and Yaakov was the son of Yitzchak, they don't refer to him as Banim. The Gemara says, Ein Karin Avos Elo Shloisha. There are only 3 Avos. And the 3 Avos were Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And those are the Avos, so they're not Banim. They're not referred to, they don't have the class of Banim. Their role was not Banim. And indeed, had it not been for the Shvatim, we wouldn't have had any Geula. The Geula would not have come. We are B'neihem of the Avos, and the children of the Shvatim, and that is the connection that keeps us, to this very day, connected to the Avos. The Avos are far away from us. So are the Shvatim. And I don't mean in years, in many, many years, but I mean in the level of who they were. The Avos were the Shorashim. They started it all off. And the Banim, the Shvatim, and they too were still far away from them. But we're closer to the Shvatim than we are to the Avos. So it's through the Shvatim that the Banim are connected to, the Bnei Banim are connected to the Avos. Now, how do we know all of this? Because of their names. Because their names represented Geula. That's how we started out. What is a name? What do we mean by names? Very interesting. We find that in Lashon HaKodesh that there are many shirashim that have their meaning, and they also have the exact opposite meaning. So, for example, shoresh is a root, planting roots from which things grow. Lisharesh means to remove the roots, to take away by the root. Lisharesh means totally to remove by the root. The shoresh is implanted. Lisharesh is to take them out. Ikar is what? The main point. The ikar is the main point. Oker, again, is the same idea. It uproots. You have tzofeh. What's a tzofeh? Well, a Navi is called a tzofeh. Litzpos means to see, to perceive, to see. Tzofeh, in Tatikva, right? We say tzofeh. What's the tzofeh? We're looking forward to tzofeh. Matzpun, the word matzpun and safun. What's a safun? Anybody know? Hidden. Safun is hidden. So tzofeh is to see, and safun is that what you can't see. It's hidden. So you see the word, and you have the word safon. What's safon? North. Why is it called north? Why is it called Safon? Because the sun is least in the north. It's more so in the south. Dar Badarom. That's why the Darom is called Darom. Matspun. What's the word matspun? Conscience. Do you see a conscience? Can't see anybody's conscience, can you? That's Safun. Matzpun. It's the same shorish. So you see that the shorish carries within it its meaning and its opposite. Now, the concept shmama means desolate. Desolate without a purpose is a desert. There's nothing to do in a desert. There's nothing to be done in a desert unless there's oil underneath. But otherwise, there's nothing on desert. A desert is a desert. Midbar Shmama. A desert is called Midbar Shmama, a desolate place. It is not fit for human inhabitants. You don't live. You may work there and do there and fight there, all those things. But you don't settle there in the desert. Whereas Yishuv, when you're talking about a Yishuv, it's not a place where people live, and it has a purpose, a Yishuv. And what's the purpose? It's to benefit the people, to give benefit to the people who live there, so they can fulfill what they have to do, their goals. That's what a Yishuv is. And you're sitting in the Shmama, you can't do what you were here to do. There's nobody there. There's nothing there. There's no purpose to it. However, that's Shmama, yes? Do you not recognize the concept that there's a Shem there? What is the Shem? It's the exact opposite. The Shem is so much the opposite. It's something that expresses the essence and describes purpose. As we said by the Shvatim, right? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, they had a purpose to contribute to the Geula. That was their purpose. And every Shem is uniquely designed for that individual. Kodesh Baruch Hu, as for the Balei Kabbalah and others say, that when parents name a child, they have a little bit of modicum of Ruach HaKodesh, because Hashem wants the name to reflect the child. The word Shem, Sham. When we say Shem is a name. Sham, what does Sham mean? There. What does it mean, there? That's where it is. It's a place where something is. It's or a place where you're intending to go. Sham. You have a purpose. There's a purpose in being there. There. We say L'Shem Shamayim. L'Shem Mitzvah. What does that mean? For the purpose of doing a mitzvah. Because I'm doing it because Hashem, L'Shem Shamayim, because I have a purpose. The purpose is L'Shem Shamayim. So we use these terms that we just kind of let it roll off our tongues. But you have to know what we're saying when we're saying it. L'Shem Shamayim, he's L'Shem Shamayim. Now we know it. L'Shem defines that this is what's done purposely for the acknowledgement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. So we have a purpose. We were created with a purpose when we left Mitzrayim, as demonstrated by our Shemos. Eila Shemos Bnei Yisrael Aboyim Mitzrayim. We have a purpose. The Navi Yecheskel speaks about Mitzrayim. And when he speaks about Mitzrayim, he says, B'sar chamorim psoram v'zir masusim zir masam. These people were like donkeys. I don't want to use the real term. But like donkeys. They were donkeys. What does it mean they were donkeys? They were totally chamor. They were totally chomer. What is chomer? Matter. Devoid of a particular form. It's just plain matter. Amorphous. That's why a donkey is called the chamor. Because it's the most physical of all the animals, because it does whatever you put it to do. You want it to carry. It just moves things from one place to another. That's its role. Either you, a person, or things, or you pile on it, you pull on it, but it does what you want it to do. The Mitzrayim were chomer, meaning they had no purpose other than to remain chomer. And when you remain chomer, the chomer needs to be somehow designed in a certain way, a tsura, which is called tsura, a form. You take anything, any chomer, all matter, plain amorphous matter. Now, when you look at it, what do you say? What's that? Mazeh, shmama. What? It doesn't have a name. It's the opposite of name. What is it? Amorphous matter. Until it's the same thing. It's the same plastic, same wood, same naugahyde, whatever you want to call it. You got it. But you got to turn it into a form. You got to give it a tzura. It has to function in a particular way. The Maharal, when he speaks about the word tzura, he's talking about function. Why is a table formatted? A plastic table is formatted, right, for a purpose. That's why it looks the way it looks, right? Because it has a function. It was formatted for its function. A chair has a totally different function, and therefore it's shaped differently. It has a different surah. Mitzrayim, the people of Mitzrayim were total chomer. What does that mean, total chomer? That means they would switch their purpose, whatever gave them more pleasure. So whatever gave them more physical pleasure. Now I'm this kind of a guy. Now I'm that kind of a guy because I'll get more pleasure out of this. I'll get more pleasure out of this person, woman or man or whatever. So that's where we came from. And you have to know, by the way, just parenthetically, Klal Yisrael were Chomer, just like the Mitzrayim, because we were, our gestation was within Mitzrayim. Ubar Yerech Imo. A embryo is a limb of the mother. So we were Chomer. Oh boy, were we Chomer. Total Chomer. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim, he took us out, and specifically we had to be that way, because we were the kind of Chomer that needed the proper tzura. And where did we get the proper tzura? Well, we came to Ma'amad Har Sinai. So Sinai was the tzura of Klal Yisrael. That's how we were formatted. That's how we have to function. That's what Torah tells us. Now, Chazal have a very interesting concept. They have a way of saying very, very important concepts and principles in statements which seem to be peripheral. It's not direct. I'll give you an example. The Gemara says, Kol ha'omer. The Gemara says like this, Kol ha'omer, davar b'shem omro, anyone who says something in the name of someone who said it. You quote, but you tell them over the name. Mevi gula liola. It will bring the gula. So every time you say something and you quote the name, I heard it from so-and-so, you're contributing to the gula. That's what Chazal say. Now, what does that mean? So the Maharal explains it so beautifully, even though it seems like it's disconnected. The saying something in somebody else's name and the gula doesn't seem to have any real connection. Says the Maharal like this, that the process of geula, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for geula. We're waiting for redemption. We're ready to get out of our state now. The state we're in now is very, very unbefitting Klal Yisrael, terribly, and we are affected by it, for no question about it. And we desperately, hopefully, want to get out of it. Just like Klal Yisrael get out of the material garbage pit of Mitzrayim, of pure chomer, of pure physical pleasure. So too we are in such a garbage pit, basically, in our general terms, not specific. So the Maharal explains that the purpose of Geula is to relate everything back to the way it was originally intended by the one who set it up. And who was that? Kadosh Baruch Hu. He created the world. He set it up in a particular way, and it's gone awry. because we have free choice. And we didn't make always the right wise decisions. Now, says the morale like this. So if Geula is the whole point of Geula is to bring things back to their source, where it came from, where we came from, how we were created to be. How did Hashem bring that all about? With words, with dvarim. The world, it says, Pasuk says it, Vayomer Elokim Yeyor, and he said, or Bidvar Hashem Shomayim Nasu, everything was done with the Dvar Hashem, a word. God didn't have hands to make something, and he didn't have a mouth either. But the way he did it was what we would call speech. Vayomer Elokim. And Hashem said, just like at Ma'abed Har Sinai, we had the Aseres HaDibros, which was the same thing. These were the words of Hashem. Now, similarly, everything that exists, everything that we see, everything that we experience, everything that is a word of Hashem. Hashem made it possible for it to be. Now, we made adjustments, and we changed, and we fixed up, and we did that. But ultimately, the source was the word of Hashem. Every tree, every bush, every flower, anything. It's the word of Hashem. So, Kol Omer, Tovor B'Shem Omro. If you take a look at that tree, and it said Hashem created that tree, even though man came along and planted it, but Hashem allowed it to be with his word because he told the earth to bring forth trees. Now, he also put in our hands the processes to do it. But who is the one that without him it wouldn't be is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Kol Omer Tovor B'Shem Omro. If you say something, a word, in the name of the one who said it, i.e. the Rabbanu Shalom, so I'm looking at that tree, I'm looking at a word, because Hashem created it with a word. So if you take the word and you take everything that is a word, and you say it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we maybe gula lo. Do you see how Chazal give us such an insight? Oh, David b'Shem Omro. If you quote somebody properly, then you'll bring a gula lo.
That doesn't refer to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, because if you hear something from a Rav, and you mention him,
of course, that's the whole point. That's why he's saying that this idea has to do with geula. If you say it in the name of the right person, it's also gula. Why? The same idea. It's not only inanimate objects. It's your little, what's his name, doggy over here? You have to say to him, this came here into the world because of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This Rav, whoever said he said it. But of course he's the author. Of course he's the one that said it. But the one who is the true source of what he said is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Kol Omer Dover B'Shem Omro Mevi Geula Le'olam. You'll bring Geula to the world. But you got to remember to say HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name too. Okay, now. Okay. Now, I want to move on to this point. When we came out of Mitzrayim, it was a total, as I said. We were Chomer like the Mitzrayim. We came from Egypt. We were Egypt in a sense. Listen to the Rambam. Avram Avinu hischel lamo delikro bekol gadol lechol ha'olam. He went out and with a loud voice he proclaimed to the world, Lahodiyam sheyesham Elokai echad. That's who Avram Avinu was. He was the one who introduced the world that there's a creator who is active in this world. Lechol ha'olam v'lo roi levado lavdo, and only he is worthy of serving. V'shosal belibam ha'ikir hagadol bazeh, and he implanted Avram Avinu in the world this idea, this concept that there's a Borei Olam. V'hodia liYitzchak, and he taught Yitzchak. V'hodia Yitzchak liYaakov, v'Yaakov Avinu limed banav kulam. And he told all of his children the same thing. This is how we became who we are. And all those that joined them, and all those who became a part of their, I don't know, tribe, if you want, that group of people. Anyone who was following Avram Avinu was following him because in their heart was implanted by Avram Avinu this idea that there's a Borei Olam to the world. V'nasis ba'olam Uma. And from that, we became a nation. Shahaya Yodas es Hashem. That's how it began. Now, until Sha'archu Hayamim L'Yisrael b'Mitzrayim. That was all great and well and good until we came into Egypt as free people, but we became slaves. V'chazru Lilmaid Min Ma'aseyem. And Klal Yisrael in Egypt became Chomer, and they learned from their ways. V'la'avod kochavim k'mosam, and they diverted their service away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to surrogates. We'll call it that. Chutz mishevet Levi, except Shevet Levi, she'omad b'mitzvos avos. He remained, but everyone else fell away. Ukemat, it was almost ceased, almost cut off. That main idea, that concept that there's a creator of heaven and earth, which he implanted, which he convinced the world about, it almost was lost. Ne'akar, there's the word ne'akar. It was uprooted from Iker, right? Ne'akar, the opposite of Iker. V'choizim b'nei Yaakov l'tos ha'olam v'tioseim. And Klal Yisrael started making the same mistakes as the rest of the world. That's how the Rambam puts it before. Until we left Mitzrayim. The minute we went out of Mitzrayim, that was the power. That's why it took HaKadosh Baruch with all those miracles. What did we need all those miracles for? Just tell power to go to sleep and let us do it. Bingo, out. It was for Hashem to demonstrate to the universe that he is the creator of heaven and earth. And that started a process. And that was the Gula. And that was the Gula from Bavel, and that was the Gula from Parshas Shmos, and that was the Gula from Yavan. And we in turn are waiting for our Gula. That's what's referred to as Ketz. Ketz, the end, the final Gula. That's us, talking to us. When we say, you may be Goel Livnei V'neihem, who are we talking about? Us. Now, it's an astounding medrash. It's amazing. And it teaches us such an important lesson. The medrash says like this, that both Yitzchak and not only Yaakov, but also Yitzchak wanted to reveal the Ketz. When our Gula would come. Yitzchak and Yaakov. Yaakov, we all know. We read it in last week's Parsha. He got all of his children together. That's part of the necessity for Ketz. Yes. You should get together. Be as one. And then we were never as one as we were then. All 12, and Yaakov and the Shechina left him, right? We know that. The Shechina left Yaakov Avinu, and he couldn't tell them the Ketz. Now, what do you think? He forgot the date? Huh? Did anybody here forget their birthday? No. We all remember. It's a date. Hold on a minute, just 1 second. It's just a date. It wasn't just a date. A date Yaakov Avinu wouldn't have forgotten. The Shechina left him. It was a signal to him. Don't. Not that he forgot. Just don't. So Yaakov got nervous. Shema yesh psul b'zari. My grandfather Avram had a Yishmael. My father Yitzchak had an Esav. Maybe someone isn't 100% correct with one of my children. Shema yesh psul b'zari. Maybe there's one of them that's a little bit off. So all the Shvatim said together, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, which means they said, Kishem she'ein b'libcho elo echad, kach ein b'libeinu elo echad. There's only one, and we know that. Then Yaakov responds, Baruch Shem Kivon, but it still doesn't tell us why the cats left him. Why the Shekhinah left him? All right, good. They said Shema Yisrael. They were all 100% okay. And then you said Baruch Shem Kivon Malchus Olam V'ed, and that's a machlokas in the Gemara. You know, that's why we say it quietly, because it's not a pasuk when we say Shema V'hoyu Advorim V'eila Asher Anochi Mitzah V'daber Bam V'eila Advorim Asher Daber Bam, that you're supposed. These words are the ones you're supposed to say in Kriya Shema. Nowhere does it say Baruch Shem Kivon Malchus Olam V'ed. So Moshe never wrote that pasuk at that point. Only Yaakov Avinu said it. So we were stuck between a rock and a hard place. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't say it. We shouldn't say it. Yaakov Avinu did say it. We should say it. So what do? So we say it quietly. Say it quietly. So what does that mean? Okay, said it quietly. But what does Baruch Shem Kivod Machuso Li'olam V'ed mean? The Olam V'ed. What's it talking about, the Olam V'ed? The Olam V'ed? That's the ultimate goal. That's the end. That's the end. Olam V'ed, Baruch Shem, that everyone, all of Klal Yisrael, all of the Goyim, all except, of course, Amalek, but all of them will recognize their errors and come Shem Echad, with one together, shoulder to shoulder. The Goyim will be together with Klal Yisrael. And serving all the day b'Shem Echad, serving Hashem. I'll come the nations. I will cause a revolution. There'll be a revolution. Boy, will it be a revolution! We've talked about that too. I mean, we think that when coming of Mashiach, everybody has this idea. Oh, wonderful! Mashiach's going to come. Isn't that great? It'll be wonderful. No more mortgage. I don't have to worry about my electric bill anymore. Everything's going to be beautiful. Everything's going to be wonderful. No more fighting. No more bad. Yeah, everything's wonderful. No. That's not what it means. It says, oh, ahafoch. What we think is good, unless it's connected to Torah, will be shown to be not good. And what we think is bad will all of a sudden be shown to be good. It's going to be haficha. Whatever they say is good, no, they will learn. And we're talking about a little bit about us, but mostly about the rest of the world. Whatever they think is good, they'll be shown that it's not good. It has to be a reversal. Otherwise, it wouldn't be haficha. Haficha means it's going to be turned upside down. It doesn't just mean it's going to be better. Okay, so therefore, we understand why Yaakov wanted to say, and we still haven't yet explained why Yaakov lost the Shekhinah, why the Shekhinah didn't let him say it. And what he said is Baruch Shem Kavod Machus Olam V'ed, but that doesn't answer the question. Okay, there's no Psul B'zari. Okay, Baruch Shem Echad B'Libcha, we're all one. No. So why did the Shekhinah leave him? The Shekhinah left him because then Yaakov Avinu understood that this is a process that has to take time. Not only time, but a lot of yearning. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuso Li'olam V'ed. We're going to do it forever till it happens. That's what he said, and therefore I can. That's the process. It really was telling him the process. The process is that all of Klal Yisrael will be one together. Hopefully, seems impossible almost the way the world is run now. But it will. Mashiach will come and make it happen, and that's the goal. Okay, so that was the most elevated time at all. You had all 12 Shvatim, all 100% aligned with the Amunah of Yaakov Avinu. No Yishmael, no Esau, none of that in Klal Yisrael. And they affirmed, Kishem Shem B'Libcha, Shema Yisrael, by the way, when we say Shema Yisrael, that's what they said. Shema Yisrael. Who is that Yisrael? We say Shema Yisrael. Who are we talking about? Huh? We think we're talking about, Hear, O Israel. Who is Israel? Yaakov Avinu. Shema Yisrael is Yisrael Avinu. Here, our father, Yisrael. That's what the Shvatim said. And why do we say it? Because, you see, Klal Yisrael, it says that Yaakov Avinu didn't die. Yaakov Avinu Lomes, he never died. What do you mean he never died? Everybody asked that. What do you mean? They embalmed him. They buried him. They eulogized him. What do you mean he didn't die? Say Chazal, Mazaro b'chayim, afu b'chayim. As long as his children, that is, who? Klal Yisrael, he's alive. If Klal Yisrael is alive, he's still alive. What does that quite mean? That means Yaakov Avinu and Klal Yisrael are one. Echad. We're all one. What does that mean? Yaakov Avinu and Klal Yisrael. All the names of Yaakov Avinu are the names that Klal Yisrael is referred to. It's amazing. We are Yaakov Avinu. In a different perspective, obviously, far in a lower darga, but we are Yaakov Avinu. Where do we see that? Yaakov Avinu was called Yaakov, correct? We too were called Yaakov. Yeah. Kipoda Hashem es Yaakov. Who's Yaakov? God has redeemed Yaakov. Who is Yaakov? Yaakov is Klal Yisrael. Yaakov Avinu was called Yisrael. We're certainly called Yisrael. Yaakov, we are called Yeshurun. Vayhi b'Shurun Melech. We're called Yeshurun. Yaakov was called Yeshurun. So we are Yaakov Avinu, albeit in the different states, but we are Yaakov Avinu. And we say Shema Yisrael, it's the same thing. Klal Yisrael is Yaakov Avinu. So if Klal Yisrael is here, Yaakov Avinu is here. That's the teretz. To those who say, Chinam Chintayu, Chintam Chintayu, Vesiptu Siptayu, they about him, they eulogized him, they buried him, but he's still alive. He's still alive.
What's this about? Stop marrying the
Hold on, I haven't finished it. That was, I first told you what was going on with Yaakov. Now can I go on to Yitzchak? Okay. I got 15 minutes. Relax. We're old friends. We go back a long way. It's not the first time she did it to me. I think. Okay, Francis. Here we go. So now we come to Yitzchak Avinu. Now, what in the world? What? Yaakov Avinu was giving a bracha to whom? Who was he wanting to give a bracha to? Says the Medrash. To Esav? Not to Yaakov. And he wanted to tell Yitzchak, Yitzchak wanted to tell Esav about the cats. Hello? Will you tell me what Esav has to do with the cats? Cats is in Klal Yisrael. He took himself out of Klal Yisrael. So why in the world would Yitzchak Avinu want to tell him about the cats for Klal Yisrael? It's not connected. But that's what the Medrash says. So now we have an explanation. You see, there are two processes for ketz. There's one process called ketz sham lachoshech. So pasuk in Iyov, the ketz will be the end of the darkness. There'll be light. The light will be so overbearing that all the darkness will dissipate. All the darkness. What do we say light? What do we mean by light? I mean that we got a strong sun? No, it means enlightenment. We'll see clearly. Clarity. That's or. Or is a representation of clarity. And ketz sam lachoshech means the light will overpower. And that's what we've been hoping for. That will win. And we, the whole world, will recognize the light. Like we say, ketz sam lachoshech. But there's another ketz. There's a ketz when the Ra reaches such a low point, that in essence it will become unsustainable and it will self-destruct. That's where we are now. Our world. Very little hope that there's going to be light that's going to overcome. They're not going to listen to any of our Gedolim. today as their leaders, right? It doesn't seem that they're going to be allowed. The world is not going to be, they're not going to invite him to the United Nations. They're not going to invite Rosh Hashivas to the United Nations and to talk. It makes sense, not the stupidity that they're spewing forth, right? So it's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen. So how is it going to happen? There's not going to be Ketz Choshech. But the Ketz will reach such a point of depravity, of sickness, of absolute and impossible to contain and continue to sustain itself. All the foolishness that they're saying and all the obscene things that they're saying, it's going to cease. It'll self-destruct. Yitzchak knew that Esav pulled away. He said, but my dear son Esav, I want to give you a bracha. That was his intention. You have to know that the Ketz can come by self-destruction, and if you're not careful, you're going to self-destruct. You're going to self-destruct. Because if you're going to continue to stay Ra, have a connection to the Toiv, then you're going to self-destruct. That's an amazing medrash. And it's expressed in two midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the way he runs the world. We know what chesed is. We call Hashem Agdula, Gvura, right? That's din. Tiferes, we know what that is, the combination of chesed and din. But then there's netzach and hold. What's netzach and what's hold? Netzach means that the light will overcome the darkness, will be victorious. The hold is that the darkness is going to acknowledge that they're dark and there's the true light and they won't self-destruct. That's the second way. But if they choose not to, then they'll end up self-destruct. Can't continue. It's untenable. That's our world, is it not? We're rushing full speed ahead towards the Ketz of Esav and not the Ketz of Yaakov. We don't see the light. And therefore, V'haya b'yom hahu, it says, V'haya beis Yaakov Eish, Beis Yosef Lahava, Beis Esav Kash. The Pasuk says, this is a Pasuk in Ovadia, V'haya beis Yaakov Eish. Avraham Avinu is the light, the fire. Who Beis Yosef Lahava, and Beis Yosef is the flame. The Beis Esav Lakash, straw. It's going to be consumed by the fire of Yaakov and Yosef. That we really don't see. We don't see that now. So where are we going today? Where are we going? We live in a situation of darkness, and that darkness is going to dissipate. They themselves will eat themselves alive, and you see it beginning to happen. Just pay attention a little bit to what's happening in the news. A little bit. What's happening in the world. What's happening to people who you would have thought were your friends. And look at what happened. The selection process has begun, and they're going to self-destruct. No question about it. One thing we have to know, there's only one source that directs everything. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose that this is the way it has to be, and this is the right way for it to be. Umevi goyel livnei v'neihem. The Gula will come to us because we're the children of the Shvatim, who carried with them in their name, meaning in their essence, Shom, within them, the Geula. Hashem hears our cry. Hashem sees our suffering. Yehuda is prepared to thank God for every single thing that happens to Klal Yisrael, to know that it's the right thing and the good thing, even though it's painful and even though it hurts. Moshe Rabbeinu was called Moshe. Why was he called Moshe? Who named him Moshe? Bas Paro. And the Pasuk says why they named him Moshe. Ki min hamayim mishisihu. He was drawn out of the water. Now, was it telling us a story? think the Chumash is telling us a story. The one thing we know about water is amorphous, has no shape, has no form. It's just water. And the shape it has is the container that you put it in. But water has no shape, no form. That's what it's the essence. It's the, how should I put it? It's the epitome of Chomer, water. Ki minasha mayim mishisihu. She took him out of the Chomer. Moshe Rabbeinu became the tzura for Klal Yisrael because he's the one that gave us the Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, this Akates Sam Lachoshech can come in one of two ways. Either Klal Yisrael is going to do tshuva, says one man the Omer. Klal Yisrael will do tshuva. You'll see, they'll do tshuva. And if we don't do tshuva, he's not going to come. Says Rabbi Yeshua, what do you mean he's not going to come? Even if Klal Yisrael doesn't do tshuva, he has to come. Says Rabbi Yeshua, no, you don't understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, either they're going to do tshuva on their own, that's what you're saying, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu will cause a melech kosher kehaman, who wants to destroy every single living Jew, man, woman, and child. It happened once, it happened twice, it happened 3 times, and it's about to happen that somebody, not somebody, many somebodies want to get rid of Jews. Now, why? Why? What is that? That's all part of the same structure that they want to get rid of Jews. And when the Melech, Kosher, Kahaman, and we've got a number of those Melechim, we have plenty of leaders that are prepared to get rid of Jews. They don't realize how much they're going to miss when they do that. We have to they'll give up all their cell phones, you know that. And they have to give up all of the technology that the Jewish people brought into this world, and mainly Israel. But what does that mean? It means that this Melech Kosher, Malachim Kosher, if you want even, doesn't that scare us enough to do tshuva? So says Rabbi Yeshua, of course they're going to do tshuva. The question is how? Is it going to come because they want to do tshuva and because they willingly do tshuva? Or is it going to take something like a Melech Kosher Kahaman to get us to do the tshuva? And the biggest raya of that, take a look at what happened with the captives. So many of them, because of their suffering, because of what they saw was the rest of the world, they became fruit. I shouldn't say that word. They became connected to the Rabbeinu Shalom, right? Isn't that something? Isn't that something? We see it alive. You see that's our only hope right now. So much pain is brought upon us that we should wake up a little bit and say, maybe the time has come. You know, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I have one hobby horse besides the word from that I don't like. There's another hobby word, that's Baruch Hashem. How many times you say Baruch Hashem a day? What are you, a robot or something? How you think, Hashem? Where are you going? Hashem. That's not what the Rebbeinu Shalom want. That's what Chazal wanted. That's not it. When you say Baruch Hashem for a millisecond and say, oh, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, Hashem should increase the good. That's what Baruch Hashem means. He should increase the good. The source of all good should increase the good. That's Baruch Hashem. If we just stopped and thought that for a moment, a millisecond, it really doesn't take much time, we would see. But if we continue along the path that we've been following up until now, and we stick with it, we'll reach a point of no return. Esav also could have. He left. So Hashem should help us all, that we should all be zocheh to see when Umevi Goel Libnei V'Neihem L'man Shmo B'Yahava. Hashem loves us, and that's why it's going to happen. May we all be zocheh to be there together and dance They're coming separately, of course, when Mashiach comes. Okay, got your answer? Aye. Okay, well, I'm going to